It's one thing to love a drum sound. It's a whole other thing to be able to recreate that sound for yourself. It can seem like an insurmountable task, especially when you don't know what kind of drum they used, or what kind of heads they were using, or how they tuned those heads, or what kind of muffling they were using, or what kind of microphones were on the drum set, or what kind of preamps those were plugged into. But the good news is none of that matters. I'm going to say it again. None of that matters. There's no sense trying to recreate someone's setup when what we're after is the sound, because the sound is not the setup. If all we're looking to do is recreate the sound, that's a much more manageable task than concerning ourselves with a million details that we literally can't know. There are countless ways to get an incredibly similar sound to a pre-recorded example, and we're going to show you today our method for dissecting a sound, how we listen to it, and how we use our ears to recreate what we're hearing. Let's listen to the snare drum sound in the reference audio that we're going to be recreating today. Unpacking a favorite snare drum sound can feel like a really daunting task, but since we're going to only be focusing on the sound and letting all of those extraneous details fall to the wayside, we're going to feel a freedom in not being concerned about those. The prime offender when we're thinking about a reference snare drum sound is, of course, what drum did they use? What was the snare drum? It's as if somehow that's the piece of knowledge that's the key to the sound and nothing else really matters. Don't try to know the setup. That's impossible. Instead, realize the truth of the matter, which is that you make the sound, not the drum. Remember the Matrix. There is no spoon. The skill that we want to talk about today and develop is critical listening. This involves not just assessing a sound because you enjoy it, but really analyzing what you're hearing when you're listening to a sound. You can't recreate something without listening to it critically first, because there are details involved that your ears are telling you and you gotta pay attention. So what are we listening for when we listen critically? What are we listening for today? We're listening for three things today. The first is note length. Is it a short note or is it a long note? The second is pitch. Is it low, medium, or high? And the third is the snare wires. Are they loose and rattly? Are they sounding integrated? Or are they choking out? Let's give our reference track another listen with these three things in mind. Today we're doing an acoustic recreation of a fully produced recorded sound. Granted, you're hearing us recorded doing it, but you are hearing raw audio here versus the origin track, which is a fully mixed and mastered song. Something worth acknowledging before we dive in is that one thing you're not going to see today is adjustments to the snare side head. In general, we keep our snare side heads at a medium tension, which gives us a lot of fluidity in terms of other adjustments we can make, and since we're keeping it there, we don't need to adjust it today. We're going to break up our critical listening today into the three elements that we discussed earlier, and we're going to begin with note length. Let's give a listen to our reference track back to back with the snare sound that we have in front of us currently today. In addressing note length, are we hearing a long sound when we strike this drum, or is it a short sound? Does it have a tremendous amount of sustain and harmonic content? Does it feel like a choir or like one little singer? The drum that we're using today has a very short sound. It's quite muffled, and there isn't a lot of sustain or harmonic content present in the sound. In order to move closer to the sound on the reference track, we need to start with removing the muffling so that we can bring some of that back into our sound. Let's listen to some single hits on this drum now that we've taken the muffling off. This is going in the right direction, so now we can start to consider the second thing on our list of items to address, which is the overall pitch of the drum. Let's give a listen again to the reference track back to back with now this drum minus the muffling, and we're going to focus on the pitch difference between them. When we start to compare these and really listen closely, this drum sounds a lot higher than the one on the reference track. The first and most straightforward solution to get closer is to lower the pitch on the batter head of this drum until we get as close as we can to the pitch we're hearing on the recording. This can be a tricky process and even frustrating, but a couple of episodes back, we dove into how to train your ears through small increments to make this process easier. So if you're struggling with this, jump back to that one and go through those. We've lowered the pitch of this drum down, and now we're going to listen to some isolated hits. Now that we've lowered the pitch to where we want it to be, let's take a real close listen to the snare wires first in the reference track, and then with this drum as it is now. The sound of the wires on our drum is a bit choked. They're not ridiculously tight, but they're not giving us the warmth and broad sound that we have in the reference track. With a little judicious loosening of those wires, we're going to get right in the ballpark that we're looking for. We've got the wires down now to match the reference track in the way that we're looking for. Let's listen to some single hits on this sound. Let's give a listen to the reference track back to back now with our final sound. There's one secret that we've been holding back for the duration of this video. The reference sound that we're using is actually me on a record that I played on a few years ago. I remember a couple of details from that session, but honestly, we didn't call up any of that information in the course of recreating the sound today. The drum that it was, the mics that were used, I have no idea what they were. None of that matters. What matters is that we listened, we assessed the sound, and then we went through some judicious methods to get us to the sound we were looking for. This may even be a situation that you've found yourself in where you had a sound that you made before and you wanted to make it again, but you don't remember what was used, what the drum was, what sticks, what you ate for breakfast. The more often we can practice critical listening and really analyze these sounds, the better we're going to be at recreating sounds and also creating new ones that make us happy. So, we challenge you. Try to recreate sounds throwing out all the variables that you either can't recreate or couldn't possibly know. At the end of the day, as we said before, the drum doesn't make the sound. You make the sound, and your ears are the quickest way to getting the sound that you're looking for.